aspired to be this big TV producer? For those who are listening, it'll be someone like Shonda Rhimes, or in the past Norman Lear, or your you someone you were acquainted with, Aaron Spelling. But you,
Yes, Tori was a recurring character
yes, Saved by the
on
Bell.
Saved by the Bell, and he and I became friends. Although people thought I hired her because it was Aaron's daughter. I had never met Aaron until he showed up one night, her first night, on the show, sitting among 350 screaming teenagers,
Oh wow.
and we became friends.
I know that if one reads your experiences in show business, it would be someone like Lauren Michaels, who has this certain variety show and all these talk shows in the past. But I've read your memoir. Did you have any other ideas to host a talk show back in the 70s other than Betty Davis or John Lennon or Orson Welles?
To host one?
Yeah, talk show.
Well, no, after striking out with those three, I figured I'd better move on to comedy.
Oh yeah. Did you have any idea that you were going to do any sort of kids shows long before
Never,
Saved by the? Oh,
never. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. Brandon Todikoff, the president of NBC, wanted me to do a live action Saturday morning. And 2 years later, when we were in 85 countries and every day on both syndication and network and NBC, the New York Times said, "And what did you tell them? What a great idea." I said, "No, I told them to get someone else. I wasn't interested." I went home. My wife said, "What do you mean you weren't interested? Your kids would be interested." And I said, "I guess I made a mistake." So I went back and I told them I'd have a show for him in 3 weeks. And remember, I didn't know anyone would see it because we had the Chipmunks as our lead in and the Smurfs as our lead out. And we were against a rabbit, a bear, and I believe a raisin.
oh, the California Raisins. I saw those shows. I was 6. I think 6 when Saved by the Bell premiered.
Well, it's 89. We premiered in prime time for 3 episodes, the summer of 89. And then the 4th episode was Saturday morning in September.
Wow. So I know you struggled just to get the show from 7 episodes to somewhere around 20. Was the show ever in danger of cancellation early on?
Well, it wasn't in danger of cancellation. They ordered 7, and I knew that we needed to fill it out. Otherwise, we would be on and off in 7 weeks, and I'd be putting something else on for the additional 13 weeks or other things. And so it wasn't a question of being canceled. It was a question of were we going to get a chance to succeed.
Okay.
But after those, once we went on the air, within 6 months, it was a given, but we realized what we had within the first month.
Oh,
In fact, we had more teenage girls on Saturday morning than Bill Cosby had on Thursday night, which is the #1 show on television.
that's impressive.
And there were teenagers on that show, if you remember.
Yes. Okay, going back a little bit to Good Morning, Miss Bliss. How was Haley Mills on the show when you oversaw the show back then?
Well, Haley was great, but she had never gone to school because she had been an actress from her age 4 years old and was under contract to Disney, who we borrowed her from, or loaned us. And she didn't really have an instinct of how she knew about English school moms from movies. But she was a delight to work with. And when I told her we were going to take the kids and Mr. Belding and do a new show, she was very, very happy for us. And she was a lovely lady.
Oh, that's great. Have you spoken to her ever since?
No.
Okay.
But she lives in London.
Okay.
But she gave me a beautiful scarf, which I don't get to wear in California, but I'll get to wear in New York next week because we're doing a signing at 30 Rock where I first started as a page at NBC.
Wow.
But I cherish a scarf.
That's great. That's a great souvenir. About the characters like Zach Morris or anyone else, did any of them were any of them based on yourself or any aspect of your personality or?
It's funny, but you asked that because when they were named after friends of mine, and for instance, Slater was a kid in my son's kindergarten class. And Zach was was very friendly with John DeLorean. Remember the DeLorean car from Back to
Yes.
the Future?
Yes.
And his son was Zach. That's where that name came from. And, but I did about 10, not 10 years ago, about 9 years ago, I did a 35 college tour. And I would teach a class, and then we'd have a big Saved by the Bell night. 5,000 kids at Baylor, 1,200 at Michigan. It was great. And I would go walk out and I say, let's get something clear right now if we're going to get along. I was definitely not Zach. I would have loved to have been Zach. But if anyone think I was Screech, we can end this right now. I was not Screech. No, the characters weren't, but some of the stories were based on some of my adventures. Like when they shut down the school with the fake flood. I did that at North Carolina State, which is not in the book. I was in ROTC. I was always losing my uniform. And they told me if I did one more time, things would not be good for me. And coming back past the football practice field where we drilled, I realized that the sprinklers were running. And I decided what would happen if they never were turned off. They were turned off, and I snuck out and put them back on. So we couldn't drill the next day, and I couldn't get in trouble for my uniform being at the cleaners. Now, that was the inspiration for Zach and Screech to make believe the school was flooding so that they didn't have to take the terrible Testaverdes test.
Okay. Hopefully you didn't dabble in any caffeine pills, did you?
No, but that's one of the favorite episodes of everywhere I go. As Screech, as Dustin Diamond said on E a couple of years ago, it seemed like she was taking heroin. But what happened was we wrote it as though she was taking speed because, she was trying to get to Stanford. She was in the singing group. There was never any time for her. And the network said, no way. There's no way you can do speed. So the guy who wrote with me, Tom Tenowitz, said, how about caffeine pills? And they said, okay. But caffeine pills are like having 3 cups of coffee. But we never, Clarence, changed a word of the script. So it was written as speed and performed as caffeine pills.
That's very interesting. About Dustin Diamond, have you read his book?
No.
Yeah, from what I've read, it seems very awful.
Things about everybody, including me.
Wow.
And untrue things, which he then apologized for on Oprah and with Mario on Extra, and said he didn't write it. The ghostwriter put all those things in. I'd prefer not to comment further on that. I mean, I loved Dustin. I loved him.
Okay. Moving on.
And he was a comedy genius. He made, I brought him back to save the new class. Because he wasn't even old enough to be in college, and we made him the assistant principal.
Yeah, he was Screech Powers for what, 12 years?
11 years.
Wow. And
I was still laughing when we did I would ruin scenes. We were doing the movies. I'd have an earpiece in. I'd be off camera when we were in Las Vegas, and he would break me up, or I would ruin the scene by laughing off camera.
Oh, that's pretty cool. He seems like a pretty cool guy, really, deep down.
He was a terrific comedic actor. I'm sorry that things have kind of not gone well for him.
Okay. Moving on, another one of your shows, which was successful, California Dreams. Do you know who wrote the songs on the show?
Steve Tyrell, who chose he was the wedding singer in what was that with Steve Martin? What was that movie? The daughter gets married.
Parenthood, Fatherhood, Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride. Steve was in both of them. He did the music, and he was the wedding singer in that. Steve Tyrell and his wife wrote most of the songs. Not all of them, but most of them.
That's very. Also, one of your cast members, William James Jones.
Love him.
So, what factored in to include him on USA High later on after California Dreams?
Because Jimmy Matteo had left. and we needed a new character. We did 105 episodes or something. He left after like 50,
Okay.
and I thought it'd be. I loved William, and Dreams have been off for a couple of years, and we brought him in because he was good. He's a great guy too.
Um, what was the instrument he was playing? What was it?
Tony played drums
He was the
on
drummer.
California Dreams.
Uh,
In fact, you'll love this. All Bruce Springsteen's drummer taught him how to play.
wow.
Well, we hired him.
How
Okay,
long did that take?
a couple. Well, he didn't really play.
Okay.
Music was pre-recorded in a studio, and then he had to know how to beat to the rhythm of what was happening.
Okay.
So he had to know the physical moves. He didn't really play.
Okay. Okay then. Another one of your shows, Hang Time, about a
Right.
girl who joins the boys basketball team.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about?
I wasn't involved with that idea. What happened was NBC wanted me to take on. I already had Dreams on, and I think Bell New Class, and NBC came to me that were developing it, and would I produce it. We had dinner in Las Vegas at the big television convention. At dinner, I said I would. Okay, then woke up early that morning and called Linda Mancuso, who was head of children's programming and a vice president, who later became president of Peter Engel Productions, and said, I got to meet you. That's a tough show to do because not only do you have to do regular comedy, you have to play basketball. And I remember when we shot the Bell volleyball thing down at the beach, right down from me here, at the Malibu Sands, which is in Santa Monica, actually. And it took us all day to shoot the volleyball game and only get maybe a minute and a half of footage we could use. So I said, they gotta have a team, you gotta play someone, you have to have coaches, you have to have extras, you have to have referees. I can't take that on. It's too much. So they did about 7 without me. And then once Linda Mancuso came over to be president of my company and we added executives, and Peter Engel Productions was more than a one-man show, then we took it over. So we really weren't involved in the first 7. But again, that went for 5 years after we took it over.
Okay. Now, one of the stars on the show, Anthony Anderson. Did you
Love it.
did you expect him to be such a big star after Hang Time?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I really did. I love his show. I love Blackish. But he was tremendous he was Teddy Bear. And
Yes.
the concept was that Teddy Bear, his father had been Superman Brodus, make-believe legendary NBA. So when they hear he's coming, they feel he's going to be like 6'9", like his father, right?
Yes.
And in comes Anthony, who's anything but that. But they had to play basketball. We never faked it. In other words, we never had someone shoot and then cut to the basket. We played it as if it was a real game, and so we would audition many people. He came in under my watch, many people, and then of course they'd break our hearts. We had a basketball court outside the studio, and some of these people were great. We go outside and they couldn't hit a basket to save their life. He could do it all, and he was funny and a terrific actor. Yeah, I always knew he would be big. He was tremendous.
Yeah, from what I can recall, he seemed like he had a decent basketball jumping stroke, shooting
He was
stroke.
good. He wasn't just okay. He was really good.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any sort of anecdotes or stories about the show One World?
Not really. I love the idea of one world, and I remember I commissioned someone to write it, one of our writers from another show, and of our shows, and first draft I just loved it, and I never felt it lived up to the potential that that it could have had. May especially only did 13 of them, and then they didn't continue. But I like the show. I guess we never had the right chemistry.
Okay.
You know, Bell is magic. Those kids were magic. First time I saw them all together in one room, you know, you cast separately, and when I finally got the cast together, I knew they were magic. And the chemistry was great on City Guys. It's either there or it isn't.
Yes.
And I'm lucky that I did 11 shows with NBC, and 7 of them had the chemistry and went 5 years or more, including Last Comic Standing, which went 9.
The Saved by the Bell, the new class series. What was it with the constant turnover of the cast? Because it seemed like they were changing at least 2 or 3 members every season.
They were, because we didn't have it right. That's why I had to bring Dustin back to be the assistant principal. We weren't ready to go, okay? And NBC had signed a deal with Kellogg's that we would be on 27, the new cast would be on 27 million Rice Krispie boxes. The problem was we weren't ready. We weren't going to be shooting for another 60 days when we had to have this ready for them. And I didn't have the cast. But NBC said, we'll get sued if we don't put them on the boxes. And we'll get sued if you change them. By the time we changed them, the deal was only a 1-year deal. And then that's what we never found the right combo. We had pieces of it. There were some good people on there. We had pieces of it. But of course, it would never compare to the original Bell. Like California Dreams was a great show. And it was always a stepchild because it wasn't Bell.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that one of the reasons, even though I've watched the entire new class, I'm one of the few to admit that. I think that the chemistry between Dennis Haskins, Mr. Belding, and Dustin Diamond, Screech, was just one of the few reasons I would really want to watch new class.
That's why I brought him back. Because we had no chemistry without those two. And I agree. So it's more and more of the stories involve Screech, right? And Belding. And they were really the stars, and the other ones were supporting to them. It never had the right chemistry, and
Yes.
if you have it, Clarence, you don't.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Do you still speak with Dennis Haskins?
I do. I speak to I speak to Dennis. I speak to Mario. In fact, I'm going to call Mario later today about something. And I don't see them that much. Mario and Dennis are the two I mostly speak to.
Okay.
And Mark Paul used to live down here near me. I used to bump into him. We used to talk.
You haven't heard from Lark Voorhees, haven't you?
The last time I saw Lark was at at the signing for the DVDs, which is like 5 years ago.
Wow. Now, Saved by the Bell, especially the original run, has spawned a lot of merchandise, especially a lot of books. Most of them were written by someone named Beth Prince. Did you ever meet her?
Beth Cruz.
Beth Cruz, excuse me. Beth Cruz. Did you ever meet her?
Yes, she spent a week on the set, but that wasn't who she was. That was a make-believe name.
Really?
Yes. She spent a whole week on the set. If you remember that book, she took you through the whole week, from the table read the morning to the taping Friday nights.
And nobody outside of the people who made the books know who she is.
There's no such person as Beth Cruz. Okay.
So Beth Cruz was not a real.
No. When the book came out, I said, "Who was Beth Cruz? Who's Beth Cruz? Did I ever meet her?" Yeah, she was I can't remember her real name, but she was on the set for a week.
Okay. Okay, I'll just end with this. You had a personal transformation and a professional transformation. The professional transformation we've been talking about.
Right.
The personal transformation was your conversion to Christianity.
Right.
Do you have any sort of specific things you do to take comfort
I read my Bible.
Yes.
I'm not no longer. If you read the book, you know about
Yes.
my at the National Prayer Breakfast. My speech was the Gospel. The Pentagon is not in my Bible, but that was a break from all the organization of the politics of Christianity bothered me. That Jesus was neither a Democrat or a Republican, and it bothered me a lot, and it bothered me all through the years until I made that speech. But that didn't in any way negate my faith. My faith is the same, and Jesus is my Messiah as a Jew, and and I go to a Presbyterian church right out my back door here, and I read my Bible, and I'm going to pray for our new president, although I was not for him. And I prayed for him even during, actually, that's probably why he won. I prayed for him and for Hillary during the
Many
whole
of us were.
campaign, and now it's my fault.
Many of us were.
And it's my fault. But this is America, and we go on. And the protesters and probably two of my sons are out there somewhere. We lost. It's over. It's like a football game. You lose, you lose. It's over. Move on. Support the guy who's the president.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you, Clarence. I got to move on to the next one.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I hope I've done what you wanted.
Okay. Everything and more. Thank you.